Hello there. Welcome to Coaching with Tally. I have a quote from George Washington that says 99% of failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. And the reality is we all do this. Actually, human beings have a fantastic ability to find excuses for things that a wide range of things to limit our capacities. So we're going to talk a little bit today about why we do this, identify some of the ways that we do it, talk about why we do it, talk about what it costs us when we do it, and how we can shift out of that. Good to see you guys jumping on here. So the quote by George Washington, for those of you who are just jumping on, 99% of us, 99% of failures come from people who have a habit of making excuses. So let's look at, we're in a series right now, basically all around taking our own power back, getting ourselves into the driver's seat of life. I know with everything going on in the world right now, a lot of us feel in some capacity or another like we're in the passenger seat, like we are not feeling as in control of our own lives as we would want to be. And I want to give us some empowerment for getting back in the driver's seat, some things that we can do to really be in ownership, in that place of taking responsibility for our own lives that is empowering, that causes us to grow, to move forward, to really be creating a life that we love living. And by the way, my name's Tally. I'm a life and personal development coach, and I work with leaders to create lives of overflowing impact in the world that are centered in joy. Getting leaders aligned to who it is they most truly are, get them firing on all cylinders. We look at all areas of life, and really in this place of having an impact in the world, in this place of overflow, creating a life that they love living. So that is what I do with my clients, and I've just been going live every day at 1 o'clock Eastern, empowering whoever it is that wants to jump into this conversation with me and really just offering free coaching. So this week we're doing a series all around taking your power back, getting into responsibility in our lives. So let's talk about all of us as human beings. We do this thing where we make excuses for not creating the life we actually really want. So why do we do this? So there are a lot of different reasons. One of them is that we have a subtle fear of failure. All of us have this to some degree or another, in some area of life or another. We have a fear of failing, and so we make excuses for why to not even get started. Like I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and so it's like I can't get started until I, figure out the logo and the website, and I'm trying to get clarity around, and then we just don't actually start doing the thing that we want to launch, the thing that we want to do. Some of that is just because we're afraid of failing. We'd rather not start than to start and fail. Some of it is we're not very connected to our motivation, like our real why. What is it going to give us when we create this thing, when we step forward in the thing that we want, when we go for it in some area of life? When we aren't clear on our motivation, our why, when our why is not strong enough, sometimes we'll make excuses for getting started. Another thing is just not having clarity around specific goals, like what it is that you really want, what it is that you want to create. Some of it is lacking resources. So we feel like we don't have the time or the money or the connections, or, we make excuses around not having what we feel like we need to get started. And then some of it, honestly, is just we are so in the habit of making excuses. Like we're so in the habit of just procrastinating because it's what we do. We've formed some bad habits in keeping ourselves stuck, that is the more familiar, more comfortable place for us than being in a place that's stepping out beyond the comfort zone. We talked about that a little bit in the last series when we were talking about growth mindsets. So some of it is just getting into this place where we decide that we want to be in a place of shifting and making. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get into that toward the end when we talk about how we create getting unstuck, how we move ourselves out of excuses and into movement. So let's talk about some of the costs, because we really probably won't move outside of our comfort zone, so to speak, until we see that what it's costing us is much greater than, the fear of just overcoming the things that keep us uncomfortable, or that keep us comfortable. So why we do this? What does it cost us when we stay stuck? What does it cost us when we're making excuses? So one of the things is you're not growing. You're not moving your life forward in the ways that you really want to. You're stuck. You feel stuck. You feel like you're in the passenger seat. You feel like you're not in control. So that is definitely a cost. Just having that gnawing feeling like I am not moving forward. One of the greatest ways to create a fulfilling life is to be in progress, be in the flow of growing and moving something forward. Tony Robbins talks about that a lot, being in this place of progress. I forget how he says it, but it's like one of the main things you need to have a fulfilling life is being in a place of growing and moving forward. So one of the costs is that staying in a place of making excuses makes you feel stuck. And that stinks. Like, nobody wants to feel stuck. It robs us of the ability to learn from our mistakes. So when we are valuing that comfort zone, when we're valuing making excuses over learning and growing, we actually are missing out on so much growth and learning from our own mistakes. So some of it is just shifting into this place of valuing just getting messy and making mistakes and learning and growing from it. Not viewing yourself as a failure for making mistakes, but really valuing mistakes for what they can teach you. No personal accountability means no way to grow. So some of it is, it costs us growth and moving forward when we don't have personal accountability. Excuses lead to regret. So one of the things, I've done a speech around the top regrets when people get to the end of their life, and like working with their hospice nurses that have asked a lot of questions of people who are on their deathbed, and what are the common regrets that they see over and over and over again. And one of them is that they made excuses in their life for not doing the things that they wanted to do. They cared more about what other people thought. They didn't go for it in ways that they really wanted to. They held back. They didn't take the risks. So regret is a huge cost. Getting to the end of your life and feeling regret for not leaning into the things you know that you're made for. So regret is a big one. And then just stuck in negativity. Like, we tend to, when we're making excuses all the time, we tend to just feel like we're in this space of negativity. Like, I can't. And, it's like excuses create negativity in our lives. And that's not a fun place to live. So you feel stuck, you feel small, you aren't learning and growing from your mistakes. There are regrets and negativity. So those are a few costs for why to lean into and overcome making excuses in your life and to help get you back in the driver's seat. So what are some things that we can do? I was just talking with, I was doing some coaching with somebody this morning around this. And, it was just a really direct conversation because I know she can handle it. There are some results that she is not liking in her life. And she's sharing those things with me, and I hear the pain in that for her. And I'm like, I tend to be an encourager, a supporter, a rah-rah it up. But I was like, man, the best way to love her today, I know, is to be super direct with her about, man, you are making so many excuses and keeping yourself stuck. And I know it's not the place you want to be. You're finding yourself in this place where you're a victim to all of these circumstances. And yesterday we talked about blaming other people. Today we're talking about making excuses. And there's a lot of those things going on. And it's creating a life that she doesn't want. And so I knew the best way to love her was to say, man, you are making excuses. You're keeping yourself stuck. And the gift for you is going to be in being 100% in ownership. Like, it's not anybody else's fault that you're in the place that you're in. It's not anybody else's fault or any circumstance's fault. It's not actually your computer. It's not actually your family. It's not the friends. It's not the situation that you're in. It is your choices and your attitude that have you exactly where you are today. And when you get in ownership over that, man, then you're empowered to move forward. It was a hard conversation, but she's an amazing person and she can handle it. And I know that it's an invitation for her to step up into something. And so I'm saying that to you too. What places are you making excuses in your life for where you are, and it's keeping you stuck and it's keeping you small? And how can you get in 100% ownership around what it is you've created? Because when we get in this place where we're like, everything in my life is my responsibility. Every result that I have in my life is because of a choice that I have made or an attitude I've had, a mindset I've taken on. And so if I want to shift it, this is great news because you are totally empowered to do it. When it's your responsibility, when these results are because of you, then you actually can do something right now. You're not at the mercy of any circumstance outside of yourself. You're not at the mercy of any other person in your life. like it's 100% you, so you can do something about it right now. So it's actually great news. Even though it's challenging a little bit, it's actually great news. And so I want to give this gift to you of, so how is it that we can begin shifting? So one is just to get in that place where you are like, I am going to take responsibility. All of my results are me. So just making that conscious decision, like 100% of my results are me. Yesterday I talked about a story of a man who decided for 1 year to take on this experiment and say, everything in my life is my responsibility. Like nothing else is going to be put on anyone else, 100% my responsibility. And like what he created was massive. He went from being suicidal to becoming one of the fathers of American psychology. Like he's an incredible, his name is William James, I think. I don't think his name is William James. We talked to him yesterday. The father of American psychology and one of the most influential philosophers of the last 100 years. Just because he decided to take on responsibility for his life. And obviously went on to not commit suicide. He was going to do a 1-year experiment. And then at the end of the year, his results were so massive. It was really incredible. So a lot of it is just making the decision to take responsibility for your own life. And taking risks and really valuing, leaning into, taking risks, making mistakes. We talked a lot about this in the last series on growth mindsets. Like getting messy, not having to do it perfect, really valuing the process of figuring things out and growing and making mistakes and not making yourself wrong for it. So some of it is that, not comparing yourself to other people. That's one of the big things that will keep us stuck, is comparing ourselves to other people. So when you catch yourself doing it, just shift out of that and be like, you know what? I am unique. I am me. Like I don't need to compare myself to anybody else. What I have to bring into this world is unique and beautiful and special. And all I got to do is do me. Like that's all I'm responsible for. One of the things that keeps us stuck is fixating on our past failures. So rather than seeing them as failures, what if we shifted that mindset and just saw it as, oh man, that was a beautiful learning experience. There were some things about that worked. There were a lot of things that didn't, and I've grown and learned from that. One of the things that I was talking this morning when I was doing some coaching for that one woman I was mentioning, I was like, you get to frame everything that has happened in your life. It's almost like the analogy that came up, it's almost like a scrapbook. You're going through, and there are these photographs of your life, and then you know how in some of those photo albums there's like space to write? You get to write whatever it is you want next to those things. Those experiences in your life, those circumstances you've been through, they're neutral. They're not good or bad or right or wrong. They're just what has happened. And you get to decide what you caption those things. Like, man, that was one of the hardest experiences of my life, but one of the most beautiful gifts in shaping me into who I am today. That is what caused me to be strong in the ways that I am. That's what caused me to realize I'm such an overcomer. That's what has given me the empathy to be able to help people the way that I do now. Like some of the most challenging, most painful experiences of my life, I have chosen to shift out of what used to be kind of a victim story. Like, oh, poor me, I went through all this crap and it was really hard and it sucked. And it's become a place that now I see it as one of the greatest gifts to me of my life. Because it's what allows me to coach people well. It's what allows me to be able to be with people in the middle of their pain and to help them overcome things. Like it has been what has shaped me. It's what's given me so much confidence in myself. Like, wow, if I can go through that and come out of it with this, like it doesn't matter what happens. When all of this COVID stuff started happening and all the I was like, okay, what is going to be the beautiful gift that comes out of this? Because this is challenging. For us as a world, this is challenging, and there are going to be some beautiful gifts that come out of it for us if we let it. So now when challenge happens, I'm not as afraid of it as I used to be because of the pain I've been through. So we get to write in next to those neutral experiences of our lives. We get to say, that sucked and that made me bitter. That's why I don't trust people. Or we get to say, that was a beautiful gift to me because now I am who I am, or now I can create what I create, or now I can give what I am capable of giving that I couldn't have without that situation. And it brings so much confidence. So we get to identify and label our past experiences either as failures or as gifts. Wow, that was a little rant I went on. I wasn't expecting. That was fun. So if it's important to you, you're going to find a way. And if it's not, you'll make an excuse. So we either get to make excuses or we get to create possibilities. So I want you to think of one area in your life right now or you feel like you're in the passenger seat, like you're not in the driver's seat, you feel a little bit out of control, you feel stuck, identify one area. Maybe it's in your career or your finances or relationships or with your health. Like, what area is it that you're feeling stuck? Identify what that is right now. I appreciate you too, Mitzi. That's awesome. Learning how to take what you've overcome and sharing it with others. That's beautiful. So think of one thing right now, because I really like to get you guys in action. This is awesome to be able to talk about stuff and have some ahas around it and be like, oh yeah, I can see that. But I want to actually get you guys in movement. So every day I try and give you something, handlebars that you can actually shift something. So one thing in your life where you feel stuck, where you feel like you're in the passenger seat, where you feel out of control, identify what that is right now, name it in your own mind. You can type it in here. It's kind of helpful sometimes when you guys actually engage here, because it makes it more concrete for you and you actually move something forward. So it's one area that you feel stuck. Identify that. Health. Awesome. Yes. Anybody else want to type anything in? So one area, and now I want you to connect. What are some of the excuses you've been making in that area? You can type them here or you don't have to, but what are some things that you are saying are outside of your control that have you in this place? Is it a person in your life? Is it a circumstance? Is it something outside of you? Family dynamics, health, good. These are great, you guys. Like, and these are common. Every single one of us. I've been doing this work for a long, long time. I still find myself doing this, where I find, I'm giving power to something outside of me rather than inside. Some circumstance or something outside of me. When I catch myself doing it, I'm like, that's why I feel like I'm stuck right now, because I'm giving the power to this thing outside of me. Yesterday we talked about remote control. When you're blaming other people, you actually are handing a remote control to somebody else and saying, here you go, you can have power over my emotions. I'm going to give that to you. But we do it with circumstances too. It's not just people when we're blaming. Sometimes it's when we're making excuses. We give the power, we give the remote control of our emotions to somebody else or to something else. So how are we doing that? And then how can we take that back and be like, okay, enough blaming it on something out here. There are things that I can do. And if I am 100% responsible for the results that I get in my life, what is it that I can do right now to take back some of that ownership? Like, there are things I can do. Like, you might not be in control of everything, but there are for sure things you can do around that thing that you're feeling out of control with. So what is it that you can do today to move that forward? What support can you reach out for? What thing can you implement in your schedule that will make a difference? What decision can you make right now, in this moment, that will shift that for you, that will begin shifting that for you? Passenger to day drinking since working from home. Yeah, that's great. That's a super common one for a lot of people. Like, I'm just going to start drinking at like 11 because I'm home, but it kind of takes the edge off, whatever. That's a great one. Awesome. What can you do today to shift that? What one decision? Oh man, it's on my phone. I was going to read you a quote that I got from Tony Robbins yesterday. He said, I forget exactly what it is, but it's basically like, don't leave the scene of a decision without scheduling in something that is going to guarantee fulfillment. It's something like that. I don't know if those are the exact words, but don't leave the scene of a decision. So you're in the scene of a decision right now. Don't leave this moment right now without scheduling in something that is going to guarantee fulfillment on this. So right now, what is something you can do? Like, I'm going to not drink until certain time, or I'm not going to have more than, sorry, my dog's in here. I'm not going to have more than, I'm not going to drink so many days, whatever it is. Like, I have clients that is actually one of the things, like, I'm only going to drink 3 days this week. Whatever it is for you. Like, with my health, I'm going to do this thing starting today. Put it in your schedule. Maybe it's reaching out for support for someone. Maybe it is, something that you're going to intentionally do that you haven't been doing that's going to improve your health. Maybe it's something you're going to stop doing that is hurting it. I can plan my day rather than free fall through it. Awesome. Yes, that's huge. Sometimes even just picking 3 main things that you're going to be committed to creating today. Like, I can flow with a whole lot, but these 3 things I'm going to commit to creating before the day's over, before 5 o'clock hits, or whatever it is. That's awesome. I love it. So create a decision right now and actually put it in your calendar with a notification. Okay, so do that now and see if it doesn't begin to shift. And just even this decision to be 100% responsible for your results will be massive in your life. And every time you start to see yourself blaming outside of yourself, making excuses for why you can't, just shift that and like, I'm responsible 100% for my results, and see if it doesn't start really making a difference in the results you get in your life. I love you guys. I will be here again tomorrow. We're going to be in this series all week, so we'll be talking about another area of getting in the driver's seat of your life and taking your power back. Sending you lots of love today. This is wonderful to be here with you guys. Thanks for engaging, and we'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.